Hello and welcome, or welcome back to Unjaded. Today I'm talking with Yong Pratt. Yong has a company called Illuminating You Productions, and she's got a big background in dance and somatic work and healing, really healing modalities of all kinds. Yong is going to talk a little bit about her experience in the Content by Design course, but more about her role in helping women to play the leading role in our lives, because you know how it is, right? Especially as women, I think this happens where, life just keeps happening. We're raising families. Maybe we're in jobs that we don't absolutely love. Not that that can't happen to men too, but so many other people's needs kind of override our own needs. And then we get to this point in our lives. Young and I are both in our 50s. We get to this point in our lives where we're like, okay, wait. I'm actually not doing what I want to be doing. I'm actually not having the impact I'm here to have. I'm actually not loving my life like I want to love my life. And that's what Yong is talking about today. She gives us some practical tips for actually getting back into our bodies, really quick things that we can do in like 10 seconds to 30 seconds in order to just shift the energy a little bit and get back into our bodies so that we can understand that how we're moving through life is really an important piece of the puzzle. Yong is beautiful to listen to. I know you're going to want to get into her world after you hear her speak today. Enjoy. Welcome to Unjaded, Yong. It's so nice to have you here.
It's so lovely to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
You're welcome. And you're a projector, as you say, invitation. Can you tell me a little bit about your human design?
Sure. I'm a 4/6 emotional projector, and it's been an interesting almost 5 or 6 years now since I've been in this experiment. And as I learn more, I have those aha moments every day where I think, oh, of course that would happen. Of course I would react that way when I look at it through the lens of human design and living into the highest potential of me.
So I'm always curious, especially for projectors, but I think for all of us, when we come into human design, like what was the biggest thing for you? Did you live your life as a generator type?
Yes, absolutely. I have to say that because I found human design through sort of a series of like three synchronistic events from someone local who was a student of mine. She introduced me to my first human design mentor. And then in that group, I met one of her clients. So it was sort of a fun way to come into human design. And I have to say that I was disappointed when I found out I was a projector. I thought, wait, I have to wait for the invitation and the recognition. I have been living my life and my business as, a manifesting generator. Absolutely. Doing all the things, burning the candle at both ends, having multiple irons in the fire at all times. And so when I found out I was disappointed because that's how I was operating for so long. And that was my comfort zone. So when I started to step back and relearn and decondition, as we say in this world, right, to really unlearn the things that were never mine to begin with, it started to feel really good. And I think about a year into the human design space and certification, because I jumped in with both feet because I was so curious. I wanted to know everything because I was at a point in my life where nothing made sense. I had closed a business of 17 years, a brick and mortar business, and I had no idea which way to go. And now looking back, I probably could have made different plans, especially being a line 4, because I like to have a plan to a plan to a plan, right? So it's been a lot of unlearning and a lot of allowing, which has really been an amazing journey, not an easy journey, yet it's been a really rewarding journey to get to this, not to the other side, because there's always more to do and learn, but to really start stepping into who I've always known myself to be, and have always been asked to not be that.
I love that. Yeah, because that's something that we have said many, many times in our many conversations together and as a group in Content by Design, that the thing you're most here to be is the thing you're most conditioned away from, right? And that's the same for all of us, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's a fun, interesting journey. And working with you these past couple of months has been so liberating in the fact that because you see me so deeply through my design, and we've had many conversations, there's this level of seeing me that in a way, I don't see myself. So especially as a projector, putting myself into rooms like this where I can be recognized and then I can let my gifts then build and shine from there. It has felt so nourishing for me.
Mm. And one of your gifts is, I'm going to just say somatics for lack of a better word, because you do somatics. I think you do it differently. I mean, you're all about the movement and the dance and getting things into your body. Can you talk a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, and this is something we've had conversations on too, and really distilling it down in my content because it was kind of everywhere. I was taking all the pieces, really trying to label it for simplicity for myself because I know that I'm drawing from all these things, yet explaining it to someone has never been easy. And you have
Mm.
definitely helped me in that process of explaining. So, as a former professional dancer and a brick and mortar performing arts studio owner, dance is definitely my love language. And when I came into the online space and was closing down my studio, I kind of shelved that chapter thinking, I'm done with dancing. I am so done with it. What I had to do in the process of learning human design was to bring that back out because the only way I could understand and make my brain process in a way that was helpful for me was to move my body. So I do a lot of dancing, and yes, I, have all of the ballet training and the modern training and all those things, but I don't like to label things like that because when I talk to people about dancing, there's a lot of shame and a guilt about moving our bodies in our culture. So I just call it movement. So we
Mm.
just come and we move together. And when we do that, we're able to really, really inhabit the body we are meant to be here in. Not the one that we wish we had, not the one that,
Mm.
we used to have, but the body we have now and just feeling good in this body. That's really the whole focus of everything I do is really getting back to the heart of you to sing your heart song. And really, in my world, everyone's life is the most important production in which they'll ever take part. So, really stepping confidently in that spotlight. And we can only do that once we have moved our body and gotten rid of all of the shoulds and all of the costumes and the masks and this brick wall we all have around ourselves. We have to let some of that go. And through lots of different movement practices that I use, we're able to get deeper into the heart.
Mm. That's so beautiful. And I think that probably every woman listening is thinking, oh my God, she's speaking my language. Oh my God, she knows how I feel in my body or about my body, right? Because we've got so much conditioning on that, as you say. So, a big thing that you do is get women or the women that you serve in the driver's seat. What do you call it? The leading role in their
Yes.
life. So, what's happening for your people when they come to you versus after they've worked with you for a little while?
And this is sort of a societal, a cultural phenomenon that as women, we take on the caregiving roles often, and we take on all the roles in the family life mostly, right? And so what happens is that we invest so much time and energy in making our kids' dreams come true and taking them to all their practices and making sure that they're fulfilled and supporting our spouses and doing the same. Yet at the end of the day, there's no time left for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we go into this new year, my whole vision is to sort of reinvent who I want to become,
Mm-hmm.
the person that's always been there. So really, you've helped me see also this leading role and this idea that I had about the vision I had about my business. When I shared it with you, you kind of just said, well, this could be the whole thing. Like, why are you not sharing this? And I thought, because it felt too big and in society to, when we step up and celebrate our wins and when we show up as ourselves, it doesn't always feel good because the people around us sometimes don't accept us for who we are, and they're a little unsure of what to do with us when we show up as the bigness of ourselves as we all can be. The clients that I work with primarily are solopreneurs. And so they're doing and wearing all the hats in their business. Plus
Mm-hmm.
they're a mom, plus they're doing all the things for their community. And so when they come to me, they're very indecisive. They spend so much time fretting about things. There's a lot of anxiety because they don't know what to do because they have disconnected from themselves so much. They don't know what it feels like to trust themselves or to make an aligned decision or to do things that light them up, not their kids, not their husbands, not their community lives. So what happens when they come, when we work together, and I can use my projector superpowers, right, and see them at a
Mm-hmm.
very deep level. And then I can guide them by asking them questions. And then they start to realize, oh, I did forget that about myself. Or, oh, I don't know when I stopped doing this fun thing that I loved my entire life and it just kind of went away. So in our work together, it's so fun to see the light in their eyes because every time we're in a room together or, in a situation like this, I can literally see it. I can sense the shift in the energy. And because one of the gifts I've really been calling in and working on this year is channeling for other people, that is a really big part of what I do as well, because it's not ever just me asking the question. I'm calling in their guides and their ancestors and whoever wants to show up for them to poke at me enough to ask them the question that needs to be asked.
I think that's one of the things that I love about your work that makes it so different in this space is that you speak a lot about ancestry and the ancestry that we're all kind of carrying with us a lot of times unknowingly. We forget about them. But that's one of the things that I think is really different about you. Can you talk about how you bring the ancestry in?
Yeah, and this has been an interesting journey because it's only been recently that I've started really speaking about this because it dropped in a really big way. I have another friend who is an MG, and so we spend time together a couple times a month, and she's so great at recognizing me, and it feels so good to be with her. And I was talking to her one day, and we were talking about, I don't even know what we were talking about. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, it's the ancestors. And I had gone through a certification this year about integrating and really working as an energy alignment practitioner, really aligning myself and aligning my clients to really be in their most radiant energy. And so in that process, this idea of ancestors kind of dropped in. And it wasn't until my friend started asking me really great questions and I was expanding about the reason I'm so passionate about helping other women find their voices is because we all in our ancestry had women in particular whose voices were silenced, who never got to speak what they wanted to speak, whose dreams were never realized. Yet I really thought about it and I thought that, wow, but you know what? They're part of me. So having that be part of me and me speaking up, me using my voice is such a profound way to honor them and their dreams because as they're part of who we are, we get to live the dreams they never got to live. We get to speak the things they never got to speak. And there's such profound expansiveness to that because it becomes no longer about me. Because as women, we don't want to be selfish and be about me. It's no longer about me anymore. It's about me and my ancestors and my lineage and about how we all now can go do this thing.
Yeah, and I find that that's something that's become more and more important to me as I've gotten older and as I've had grandchildren. Is like, I mean, I feel like I've always been here to do the healing work, and probably the women who come to you have always been here to do that healing work. But it's so important for all of the generations back and all of the generations forward. It's like you say, you're healing your lineage. You're not just healing for you. This is really important shifts that you're making with the women that you work with.
Yeah, and I can see it too when every time I bring up this idea of lineage and ancestry, it's always so emotional. Not only for me because their guides put emotion in my body to share it with them. And so there's always this really deep sense of, oh my gosh, yeah, it is not me. So when they start to bring in this piece and know that when they start to heal this and start to use their voice in the way they were meant and designed to use their voice, that's when we can heal time in all directions, right? It's not just about, bringing the past along. It's really about paving the way for the future so that our kids and our grandkids see us using our voices, which empowers them to do the same. And then everyone in our circles gets to do the same because when one person has the courage to step up and speak, it has a really magical way of having this ripple effect where everyone around gets a piece of that too. And they think, oh, I can do that too.
Just a quick little commercial break here for you. I am getting ready to present a 3-day free masterclass series. And this is for you if you are not making enough money in your business. Maybe you're putting offers out there, but they're just not landing like they should. You feel like you're never having that launch that you think you should have. You hear everybody talking about these huge launches and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Well, if that's happening to you, then there are two things that could possibly be wrong in your business. Number one is that there's something wrong with your offer. Something is not converting with your audience. They hear you talk about your offer and they're like, yeah, I don't know if I need that or not. And we're going to fix that in this masterclass series. The second thing is that your message is not clear. You are not getting really clear on what you're here to say, how you need to say it, and who you're actually speaking to so that you can land more paying clients with ease. And I'm going to show you how to leverage your human design so that you can do exactly that. It's a free 3 days with me, where each class is probably about an hour and a half long. There'll be lots of opportunity for hot seat coaching. We are going to come in and we are going to fix what's going wrong in your business so that you can make the money that you're here to make and have the impact you're here to have. Let's say that someone is listening right now and she knows that she has something that she would like to heal. Now, I have to tell you as a listener that I never prepare guests for anything. So Young is like, oh my gosh, what is she going to come out with? But I know you can handle it. What's one little tiny practice that someone could do to get something different into their body to heal a little bit of something?
So one of my favorite practices, I have lots that I could give you a whole list, but I'm just going to do one that seems to be really one that sticks with my clients forever and ever and ever. And when we are in our heads, like we always do, right? We think about the conversation we just had. We think about all the things that are coming up, the laundry list of things. When we're in that space, our bodies get really, really tense and really, really tight. We may not even feel it because we're so accustomed to being so locked up. So one of the things I love having my clients do is to stand in a big X and really just reach past where they think they can reach. And then in order to connect both hemispheres of the brain and to really get into that beautiful feminine energy, to move their body cross-laterally. Because when we do this, it's not just our left brain, logic brain that we've been taught to use and rely on and get answers from. It really is about now we get to integrate the right brain and the left brain. And when we move like this, even for a few seconds, and I have clients who just say, when I'm at work, I just kind of do this, like I'm putting on a seatbelt, right? And there's so many ways you can do it. You can do it with your legs, but just moving across that midline of your body will bring you back to the present moment and bring you back into the reality you need to be in.
And how long does that take?
A couple seconds, a couple minutes.
Okay.
Because it's really a pattern interrupt, right? When we're stressed out, say you're in front of the computer and you're trying to figure out the next thing and there's a blank screen and the cursor is flashing and it's stressing you out and you think, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to do this? Yeah, you can stand up or sit and really just be big, be in your body. You can move your body if that feels good, but then really just start to cross. And however, you can be as creative as you want. You can bring out some props. You can bring out the tissues. I don't know, whatever you have in your room, right? And just have fun with it. And then even just 30 seconds, a minute, you can do this as long as you like. Most of my clients tell me that the longer they do it, the better they feel. So if you're just in the store, you can reach. You can do it very subtly, reaching on the shelves for things, right? We don't have to be overt about it and be the person everyone wants to stare at in the grocery store or wherever we are. We can do subtle things that are of the same movement that will really help us to bring us back to this moment.
I love that. And I love it because I know that if you're listening on the podcast, you can't see Young, but what she's doing is she's actually reaching across her body as if she's reaching for a can of tomato soup on the shelf. And then maybe she used the words as if you're putting a seatbelt on. So that motion. So it's just anybody can do this. That's what I love about it. You don't have to be a ballerina. You don't have to be a gymnast. You don't have to be a yoga instructor. Anybody can reach across their body to kind of reset their nervous system, which is what you're doing here. So that's a beautiful thing that I want us all as Unjaded listeners to be doing from here on out, now that we've had Young say this. So switching gears a little bit, but you kind of opened the door for me with the staring at the blank screen with the cursor there.
Yeah, for sure.
You did that on purpose? That's the projector in you, right? Okay, so I actually have a question before we go into that. Yes. As a projector living your conditioned generator state for most of your life, did you know you had that gift where you could deeply penetrate someone and see them? Or is that something that kind of came through for you as you lived your design a little more?
It's the realization of it is pretty recent. I think
Okay.
I've always had a sense that there was something about my energy. And I, growing up, I didn't like it because all of a sudden I'd walk into the room and
Mm,
everybody would stare at me. And I thought, what? Is there something on me? Like, what's happening?
yeah.
Why are you all looking at me? And it made me extremely uncomfortable. And recently I had a friend who said to me, I was scheduled to speak at an event locally, and at the last minute, we got tickets to go see Ringo Starr. My
Oh,
youngest is a big
geez.
Beatles fan, so I was like, I'm so sorry, we have to go
Yeah.
see Ringo. Like, he's probably not going to be here much longer. We really have to go do this and have this experience. So I recorded my presentation, and so I saw her the week after, and she's like, I loved seeing you on the big screen. It was cool. However, when you walk into the room, the energy changes, and we
Mm,
couldn't feel the expansiveness of that. So it's interesting. So now I just recognize that that is part of what happens for me. And sometimes when I know I'm going to go into a crowded space and with a completely open head and ajna, I get I'm the person who, like, there's shiny disco ball moments every moment of the day. Like, I want to do this and this and this and this and this. So I will put a hat on just to block the flow of energy a little bit to me. And it also blocks the flow of my energy out. So I don't feel uncomfortable in situations. So yeah, it's been a lot of learning and appreciating and now understanding that, especially when I'm one-on-one with clients or even in a group, there's this sense of we can
mm,
all be in this space and we can all be in the present together, and we don't need to worry about all the rest. We can just be here and enjoy the energy of us.
mm. I always do enjoy your energy so much, even on group calls. I love it. So one of the things that I would love for you to kind of take away from that as a listener, just one of the things, take away everything, but one of the things that Young said, you gave a great tip there about putting a hat on. So like you have all kinds of these little tricks in your or up your sleeve where you're just like, okay, well, you could do this to trick your mind. It reminds me of Todd Herman's work with the alter ego, where you just like put something on or act as if or one of those things. That's a great tip. So if you have that problem, I don't like that word, but where you feel like everyone's looking at you, you feel like your energy is escaping out of your head, all of that's like wear a hat. That's just such a little thing, but it's such a big thing.
Yes, and all of my projector clients I've shared that with, they were like, oh my gosh, it made such a big difference. I felt so much better. I wasn't as exhausted at the end of a peopling event as I normally am. So yeah, I love bringing these little, tips and tricks and things that I've always done that I didn't know that I did them for any particular reason. They just kind of happened. But now I'm really in the phase of life where, as an off the roof sixth line, right? I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I'm just going to bring it all together. I don't care if it sounds weird. I'm just going to do it and see what happens.
Yeah. So Young is when she says off the roof, just in case you're not super familiar with human design, when she says off the roof. So when you're a sixth line profile and you have stepped over 50, which I think Young is kind of close to doing or has done. But when you step off, when you're over 50, you are actually now in the role model phase of your life. So now it's a lot easier for you to tell people, look, this is how I see it. This is what needs to be done. Whereas in that period of time between 40 or sorry, between 30 and 50, you're integrating all these lessons and you can see what needs to be done, but people aren't really listening to you. So it can be very painful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That was your experience of life as a sixth line?
Yes, for sure. I think Karen Curry Parker always says, even though I'm not a third line, I may not play, I may not be a third line, but I play one on TV, sort of thing,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Where as a sixth line, you know, it's interesting now to look back through the lens of human design and say, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. I understand why I did all those things. But yeah, that middle period, it's like I wanted to speed things up and say, oh, I just want to do this thing now. I can see it and it's taking forever to get there. Come on, hurry up and just
Yeah.
be there.
And there's such great energy for us, I believe, in our 50s. I think these are all the ways that women used to be told, men too, but like that your midlife crisis, you've got your Uranus opposition around the time you're 40, you've got your Chiron return, which is huge around the time you're 50. As a sixth line, you're jumping off the roof. There's so much energy around, okay, now's the time to do the thing. And I know that you don't just work with women in their 50s, but I love the work that you do because it's actually bringing women back to themselves, which is such an important piece of the puzzle. I always say, oh, and it's something I stole from someone, but a woman standing in her power is the revolution. And that's the revolution I think we need
Yeah,
right now on the planet.
for sure. For sure. Because even in a family situation, if one person steps up and says, I'm going to make these
Mm.
changes, everything around them falls into place. So
Yeah.
many clients tell me, they said, I thought I came to do this for myself.
Mm.
And I'm realizing it's changing everyone around me. All of a sudden, there's conversations that I wish we could have had before, and now we're having, and questions that I'm being asked that I always wanted someone to ask me, and now they're asking me. So
Yeah.
it's never really about yourself. And especially if you're a mom or a grandma or business owner, everyone you interact with gets to be part of this journey. It is not a solo journey ever, although a lot of times it does feel like that.
Hmm. Yeah. So now we're going to switch gears and talk about the impact that you are having. And you've been having an impact for quite some time. Like you've been an entrepreneur for most of your life, I think, most of your adult life for sure. But you were drawn into the content by design experience. And I'm curious, I'm going to ask a few questions that I believe my listeners would ask. And hopefully you can kind of shed some light on them. The first question I'm going to ask you is, you are someone who is trained in human design. So why would you take a course that or an experience, I've learned not to call it a course, that actually talks about human design and business and content creation?
It's a really great question. And I think for me, it wasn't about the human design learning itself. It was really sort of the integration of the content and then the business and the strategy and the fact that it wasn't this cookie cutter recipe. Because for so much of my business life, I had been taught, follow this strategy, do this
Mm,
thing. And every time I did it, I was always disappointed because I never got the results that I was promised. And
yeah.
I was a good student and I did all the things. And looking back now, I think it's because I didn't align with what I was doing. So there was an energetic mismatch. So people didn't resonate with what I was putting out because it wasn't mine. And because I was doubting, they were doubting too. And I get all those now. So what I loved about this is it's not a course. And to be quite honest, I have only watched a couple of the videos. For me, the biggest piece was being in the room, having you look at my content because I've never had someone do that for me. I've done that for other people. And, I did that for a lot of years. But again, as a projector, having someone else's eyes on my stuff and asking
Mm,
questions about explain this to me and why would you talk about this and I see you doing this or just these subtle questions that came up. It was such a big impact for me because I had never had someone do that for me. It was always about follow this, do this, follow this, do this. And there were conversations in those dynamics, but never deep conversations. Like nothing came of it. Whereas when I have been in this space with you, like things actually have happened. I can take your feedback and then I can actually just go take action on it instead of trying to figure out, okay, does this fit A, B, C, D? Like where in the process are we? It was so beautiful how you were able to see all of us and give us all the strategic help and the feedback on our content that we needed. And that was so beautiful to watch that piece unfold and you being in the room, responding, being in that energy, and then giving everyone what they needed.
thank you. My second line appreciates hearing that. So
Mm.
thank you. Because it is hard to recognize our gifts sometimes, right? And I do feel like I am the opposite of the everybody do it this way. Like I think there's no one way to build a business. And perhaps because I've built businesses across so many industries, it's pretty easy for me to look into any business and see. And then with the human design piece as well. I mean, we know that human design just makes everything else magical, right? So in throughout our work together, we ended up together for 10 or 11 weeks. I don't know. It always, this is an 8-week experience that always ends up going longer because in this particular round, we had people who, some people wanted to start a podcast. Some people we realized didn't have a proper offer in place. So we kind of paused and did that. So we always like make sure that everybody gets what they need. But you really, in my opinion, did a lot. So what I see, I started to make a list before this call. What I saw you do was create a lead magnet that you were happy with, really rework the content on your website. Oh gosh, I remember the first time I looked at your website and you were afraid for me to actually do a video of like what needs to change here. And now to look at your
Yes.
website and the difference. You worked on your offers. You even came up with a like, holy shit offer. Like if I actually did this and sold this,
Mm-hmm.
you did some sequences in your email system. Did I miss anything?
Well, I think the offer piece was a big missing piece for me too, because I was doing readings like we all do when we come out of the human design world. And for a while, I needed to do that and to
Mm-hmm.
be able to offer it by itself
Mm-hmm.
as an experience. But then working with you and then just growing as a person, I realized, okay, I don't need to lead with that. That can be
Mm.
part of what I do. yet I need to rearrange. So we get a lot of rearranging, I feel like, in the time we have
Yes.
together. And when you asked if you could record a video about my website, I had so much anxiety and fear about that because one, not only did I write the copy on it, right, and I've had people look at it, didn't really give me a ton of feedback, but I actually designed it, right? I learned web design as a necessity early in my business. And so there was like a double layered thing. Yet looking back, I am so grateful that I did that because I kind of had one of those downloads, right? Where it's like, you know what? I'm here to get stuff done. And in order to move forward, I need Vickie to look at my website. I don't care how painful it is. It probably is going to be super embarrassing for everyone else to see this. Yet that's what I needed because I came in thinking I was going to work on all these small, like periphery things like social media because I had been really, slacking on those things. What I loved is that no, it was the big boulders. We just talked about this the other day, how you put the big boulders in place, like the website, the offer, the email sequences, those things got done in this container, which makes all of the rest of it feel so easy.
Yeah. Yeah, because once you have those things in place, you know what you're talking about. And when, I mean, you know your design anyway coming in, but once you really feel into your design and the business that you actually want to build, then it's easy to think about things to talk about on social media instead of just sitting there going, oh gosh, what am I going to say this week on Instagram? Like, oh, such pressure. And was it painful and embarrassing to have your website? I'm genuinely curious, and you can say yes.
No, only in the moment when you asked me, I was like, oh, whoa, that feels very really revealing. Well, especially with my completely wide open will center, right? Like there's nothing attached to that thing and it's just like floating there. And my whole life, I have walked through life looking for external validation and trying
Mm,
to prove my worth. So I was like, oh my gosh, okay. That piece took a hit. And I was like, at the end of the day, that's what needed to happen for all of the rest of it. It was really like the big boulder. Once that one,
interesting.
got pushed down the hill, all the rest of it kind of just fell into place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you were already a creation machine, but you're like really a creation machine with a purpose in your business now, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I was thinking the other day after the planning workshop about how much content I have and, what would happen if all I did this year was have fun
Yes.
and, recreate those, like repurpose those and like expand them. Even though I love creating content, what if I could just do that and I never had to worry about content again? Like that felt so liberating. Like, oh my gosh. And this year I actually chose a word after our planning session. And the word is reinvention because I
Mm,
literally, as I'm going to celebrate my 50th birthday this year, I want to reinvent everything,
yeah.
reinvent how I do business. Like, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
What do I want to do versus what I, think I need to be doing? But just doing those big pieces and letting all the rest fall away and
Yeah.
me just showing up as the person that I want to be.
And in my head, as you were saying that, I'm thinking you could totally hire that out. You could totally delegate that piece now that you have this huge content bank. You could totally get someone really talented to create all of that social media stuff, and you just focus on the big things in your business.
Yes, and that feels so dreamy. As you're saying that, I'm getting goosebumps because I do know that, as a fourth line, I like to have my control. So hiring things out, delegating is a trickier bit for me, and I'm sure you know that too. It's time though. Like if I'm going to truly reinvent my business with this crazy offer that I shared the other day that I thought, I don't know where that offer came from, yet it's going to happen. So let's make it happen. In order to do that and be that person, I have to give up all of the small stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's a good lesson for all of us.
Mhm.
It's like, what is the thing? We hear about the 80-20 rule. We like to talk about the 80-20 rule, but like, what is the 20% of activities that will actually move my business forward instead of the 80% that I just keep myself busy
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. The badge of busy, right?
The badge of busy. Yeah. So, where can people find you, Younger? What's the best way to get into your world?
The best way to get into my world probably is to come to my website, yongpratt.com. And as Vickie had shared earlier, there is a brand new, beautiful offering I have for you to do a healing meditation with me.
Mm.
And it's source channeled. So, I mean, it is really all about helping you to reclaim the leading role in your life. And the more you listen, the more aligned you become. There's talk about ancestors in there. It's a beautiful journey. I'm so excited about it. It's probably the first time I'm actually really super excited about having an offering that really plants my flag in the sand saying, this is what I do. So that's probably the best place. Otherwise, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I kind of hang out on those two places, and I'd love to connect.
Awesome. There's something else that's coming through for me here because you changed something entirely in your business. I'm going to put those links in the show notes for you as well so that you can go back and get them from Yong. But you were leading with human design. And I think that in the human design space, what I see with entrepreneurs coming in is that they think that because they know human design now, they need to lead with it. And actually, when we looked at your business, it was like, but here's this other whole beautiful thing that you do with ancestry and channeling and dance and movement and all of the things that you don't actually have to lead with human design to use human design in your business.
And this has been a really big shift too, because before human design came into my world and there were things like body graph chart, I didn't lead with human design. And then all of a sudden, this opportunity came with all the charting software. And I wanted to be in that mix because I thought, wow, this is cool to be able to give people an example of what I do sort of, in my world, because it's done a little bit differently on the back end. But then I just kind of felt like I was in this rut of there's so many human design people popping up, and what differentiates me from the rest of them when we're all doing the same thing? Why are they going to come to my website for a free chart when they can get one pretty much anywhere these days? So not leading with that and stepping back into switching my offer and the first step with me has been so freeing in the sense that, oh, I don't feel like I'm in this box anymore. Yes, human design is important. I will always use it. Yet that is not the primary focus of what I do. I mean, really, it's about energy. Everything is energy, and your human design is energy. The way you move your body is energy. The way that you connect with yourself is energy. So when we can just focus on the energetics of you in your business, human design kind of flows beautifully in that. Yet it doesn't have to be the primary piece. And I think for people listening, it is a trap because we all think, okay, this is the thing I'm going to be known for, and I'm going to do these things. And yes, it could be. I would say for the vast majority of us, though, it is not the thing. It is just the one piece that we use when we all have so many modalities in our toolkit. And if we can lead with the ones that bring us the most joy and use human design as something to really bring out and highlight different pieces of it along the journey, I think that serves our clients so much better.
Yeah. Amen. And I think that's a beautiful place now to wrap it up. So I thank you for being here. We've had some great conversations. I thank you for being who you are in the world, because I think that that's been not always easy to step into that. I appreciate the work that you do, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Vickie, again, for the invitation, for being my champion over these past few months and really getting me to step outside my comfort zone to do what I ask my clients to, and that is to reclaim the leading role in my life. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.